GameCenter.com's tutorial on how to enter plays in on the app. So once you're in on the app, make sure that you have logged in with the current team that you want to be using, and make sure your season says 2013, and go to your schedule and select the game that you want to keep the stats for. So for this instance, I want to select this Kansas at Missouri game on August 15th. In order to get into the game to keep the stats, I'm just going to click on the game and it takes me there to the page. So right now we are at 12 minutes left in the first quarter and we are ready to kick off. So the first play I'm going to show you how to enter is going to be the kickoff. Now, depending on which team wins the toss and which team is kicking off, you can switch between the two teams right here by selecting the football next to the team name. So for instance, if Kansas were going to be kicking off, then I just select Kansas has the ball to start, and now I'm ready to go. I'm going to come into special teams and select kickoff. Now the ball will be placed at the 40-yard line on the right side of the field, but for instance, if Kansas is kicking off from the other 40, I can just hit swap ends and now it is switched to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick the kicker for Kansas. So in this instance, it's number 1, Alex Smith, and now he has kicked the ball off down the field. So I'm going to take the football, I'm going to drag it down to where the ball is caught for the return. So let's say he kicks it down to the 10-yard line. I can drag my football, I can use the arrows. So now the ball is at the 10. Well, the next step, now that the kickoff portion is complete, I hit next, and I go ahead and select my return man. So now Missouri is the team returning. I select the player returning the kick, and as you can see, it has him starting at the 10-yard line. So I'll make sure that my end is the one highlighted that I'm going to change, and now I'm running it out. So let's say I run it to the 25-yard line. I will just simply move it to the 25 here for a gain of 15 yards. I will select next. Now it's going to ask me for the tackler for the Kansas team. So I will go in, I will select my tackler, and I will hit next. And as you can see, now we've got 1st and 10 from the 25, and Missouri has the ball. So, for instance, what I can do is I can come in here and I can go ahead and change my clock to whatever the time reads and say, okay, we are now going to start this play around 11:49. So let's first go over the running plays and some different possibilities that can happen on a run. So if the ball is run, it's the most simplest play entry. So I just come to this page, I select the runner, I can select anybody on my roster. I click the player, and I can just click how far, or once again drag the football to where the play ends. So I can use these arrows, or I can drag the football, and I select next. It takes me to the tackler. Once again, I will select for my tacklers. It's going to keep all your recent tacklers towards the top, and I will just go ahead and click my player. If I have an assist, I can click that player as well. So you see I've got a tackler, I've got an assist, and I select next. And now as you see, the play is now listed here. It is now 2nd and 7 from the 28, and you can see the play listed here as a 3-yard run. So now let's go ahead and put a pass play in. So pass, we've got a couple different options. So when I select pass, I'm going to come in here and select my passer. So I will select who threw the ball. I will select who the receiver was. If the pass was complete, incomplete, intercepted, or if there was a sack on the play. So in this instance, I will say it was a completion. I'll say it was for 12 yards, so I'll drag the football to 12 yards to the 40-yard line. I will select next, and I will select the tackler. As you can see, once again, the recent tacklers are there. I select my tackler, I hit next, and the play comes through. You can see pass by Trey Irvin to Nick Williams for 12 yards. So here I am, 1st and 10 at the 40. Now, let's say the pass is incomplete. This makes it much simpler. I click on pass. I have my passer and recent receivers already saved, which will save you time in the long run. If it's an incomplete pass, I just select incomplete. If I'm keeping targets, I might want to come in here and put who was targeted on the play, but still just hitting incomplete. I hit next. Now, as far as defense, since there's no tackle on the play, you can put a breakup in there if There is no breakup. I can just hit next again. And now here we go, 2nd and 10. And as you can see, it just says an incomplete pass. Now, where things are going to get a little more difficult are on more advanced plays. So let's, for instance, say there is a sack on the play. So we can come in, select pass. I select sack. Now what I'm going to do is if the quarterback was sacked for a, let's say, a 5-yard loss, I'm just going to come in here and drag the football back for -5. I select next again. I pick my tackler up. And now it's 3rd and 15. And once again, the play comes in, sacked passer, tackled by, and has the players' names there. So let's say on 3rd and 15, my quarterback drops back and throws an interception. Well, here's how that's going to work. It's going to be very similar to a kickoff. So I select pass, I select interception. So once again, it will automatically take the receiver out. But if you're keeping targets, you can put that in there. But so the ball was thrown, let's just say the ball was thrown to the 50-yard line, and that's where it was intercepted. I'm going to drag the football to the 50, and then select next. And now it is going to say recovered, which is going to be the interception. So it will say intercepted by, and it has my Kansas varsity team here. So I select who made the interception. And now that I've intercepted the ball at the 50-yard line, now I'm returning that. So I'm coming back the other way, and as you can see, the gain is positive there. But I want to make sure I have this end highlighted. And so I ran it back for 12 yards. I can move on. Now Missouri, the offensive team on that play, obviously made the tackle. And I will pick that and move on. So now anytime there's a change of possession, it is going to prompt you to put in the time at the time of the change of possession. So for instance, that play occurred, let's say at 9:39. I will hit done. That is so that you can keep track of your time of possession in your statistics. So now that Kansas has intercepted the ball, it's their ball, 1st and 10 on the 38. A cool feature that we have is any play that's a touchdown, it's very simple and easy to automate. So if let's say the next play, we've got a touchdown run, I'm simply just going to pick the player who ran the ball, and instead of dragging the football all the way in, I can just select touchdown. And as you can see, if I turn it off or turn it back on, it automatically moves the ball right into the end zone. When I hit next, it's going to ask me once again to change the time because we have another change of possession. And after a score, it will automatically take you to the point after screen. So whether it is a kick, a run, or a pass, this is the screen it takes you to. So on a kick, all you have to do is just fill in the kicker and select whether or not the kick was good. Or if the kick was no good, you just leave it as off. If you want to keep track of whether the kick was blocked, same thing. You can do it like that. If the team went for 2, and let's say Kansas ran it in for 2, I will just select run instead and select the player who ran it in. And we'll pick Eric. And Eric ran it in. It was good. So we hit next, and now you can see we are back to 8-0. So this takes us back, for instance, to another kickoff. So maybe the second time I'm going to click kickoff. And maybe this time I tried an onside kick. Well, I can go ahead and I can select onside kick and kicked it 12 yards. I hit next. And now it's going to ask me which team recovered it because obviously either team can pounce on it. So Missouri, who was the return team, is already set to be the recovering team, but I can swap that. If Kansas recovers their own onside kick, I can swap that by using this arrow right here. Let's say, though, Missouri is the team that is able to recover it, and Matt is the player who pounces on it, and he just dove on it. So there is no tackle. So if there isn't ever a tackle, you don't have to put anything in for it, and you can select next, and now Missouri has the ball. Now, fumbles are going to work the same way as interceptions. So let's say Missouri fumbles the ball. This player is running. As you can see, it auto-populated my previous runners, and it keeps my recent runners towards the top, so you don't have to go in and go through your whole roster. So let's say Max Mickey here runs the ball for 8 yards and then fumbles the football. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the fumble button down here. I can hit next, and you can put in who the fumble is caused by. So I can put the fumble was caused by number 2, Drake Hoffer. I can select next. And now who picked it up? There's obviously the chance that Missouri recovered their own fumble, so I could have them be the recovering team, or I can have it be Kansas. Either or, I'm going to have the defense recover this fumble, and let's say I started running it back, and there you go. So that's where the player is tackled. I put in my tackle. Once again, a change of possession. And so now Kansas has the ball 1st and 10 from the 28. At any time in the game, if you have timeouts, feel free to go ahead and click on the timeout button. Let's say Kansas calls a timeout here. I can just select that, change the time if need be. It basically just comes in here as a timeout. Now, I've already gone through all the possibilities on the pass. So within the pass, you can only have the complete, the incomplete, the interception, and the sack. But let's say we've got an interesting instance where the Kansas quarterback is in the shotgun and the center snaps the ball over his head and the quarterback runs back and falls on it 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Well, that's actually going to be a run, and we have it in here as bad snap. So if you select bad snap and drag the football back, let's just say, like I said, 10 yards, and sometimes there's a tackler, sometimes there's not, what happens is the team, Kansas team, will actually get credit for minus 10 yards rushing, but the player who recovered the fumble will no longer get the minus 10 yards rushing as in some apps in the past. So it doesn't penalize the player for a bad snap. So you can use this on punts and on in any other play where the ball is snapped over the player or is just hard to handle, and the player on offense has to fall on the ball. That way, they're not getting the yardage for it. A couple other interesting things, little tidbits too that we've added on a pass play. You can just go in on a spike, let's say at the end of the half. You can just select spike, and I'll select my passer. And it will just say spike by the quarterback. That will give your team an incompletion, but it won't go to the player as being an incompletion because that is actually not. Another one that we've added in as well in a very similar capacity is the kneel down. So a kneel down is going to be a run. I will just select kneel. I will move the ball back, say 2 yards, that he kneeled down. Same thing. These stats only apply to the team, not to the actual player themselves. So I've just shown you the bad snap, which is in run, the spike, which is in pass, and the kneel down, which is also in run. So those are some very interesting case scenarios. So now here we go. We've got 4th and 22 from the 40. We're going to punt the football. So I go into special teams, and I can go into punt. Same thing that we've done with both the kickoff, the fumble, and the interception. This one's going 2 ways. As you can see, if I kick the ball out of the back of the end zone, I can just select touchback. If the punt gets blocked, I can select blocked. And another thing is, let's say the punt is a great punt and it hangs and the receiver lets it go and it bounces down to a stop at the 3-yard line and nobody touches it and the ball is blown dead. I can just select this no return on that. Oops, I have to select a kicker here. And if I select no return, then all it is I skip the return page and it's just the punt for 37 yards. Now, there are a couple other options that you can go from here. And actually, we'll work our way into the offensive territory before I show you the field goal. So let's say that was the end of the first quarter. What you can do is just go ahead, hit end of the first quarter. And now here we go. We're going to start 12 minutes into the second quarter. The most difficult thing to keep track of here during the games is going to be the penalties because the nature of the game, and sometimes the referees don't do a very good job of telling you what the penalties are or where the penalties are being assessed from. So we've put in some functionality to handle that. On a pre-snap penalty, you just select penalty, and what you can do is, so let's say we have a defensive offsides, I can just come in here, I can look for my offsides penalty. It automatically sets it at the 5 yards. It's going to override the play. I'm going to hit next. So now it's 1st and 5 from the 8. We've added those 5 yards in. Let's say the penalty was on the offense. I can just come in to penalty, offense, false start. Now we're going back 5 yards. I can hit next, and we're back to where we were. If for whatever reason, for instance, let's say that that penalty happened on the 8 and the app marks it at the 3, but really you're saying, oh, it was only half the distance, it should take me to the 4. Don't forget you can always edit the yard lines by just selecting there, or you can come in and you can change it by changing the distance of the penalty. So it's a false start penalty. You know what? From this case, it's only going to be 4 yards. So see, I can make that half the distance to the goal there. All right. So now let's say we have a 20-yard pass play with a personal foul face mask on the end. So I go to my pass. I'm going to go ahead, and the ball, as you see, the ball has switched sides because of the quarter change. So I'm going to 20-yard gain. It was complete, and there was a penalty on the play. I'm going to go ahead and select penalty. I will select next. You still have to put in your tackler. And then it's going to ask you what the penalty was. So it was a defensive face mask. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to put in the personal foul face mask. Now you have some options. Override means it will take the place of that previous play so that it will be like that play never happened. If you select the added feature, then it will add it on to the end of the play. And then obviously decline is a decline penalty and offsetting would be offsetting. So in this case, the face mask is actually added to the end of the play. So I will select added. Now as you see, what it does is it puts the ball where you think the ball should be. So with that play. So now it added 15 yards and it moves the ball to the 38. So it makes sure. So for whatever reason the refs marked it the 37. You can come in here and you can make that change. The key here is getting the ball where it's spotted by the referees. So if I select next, here we go. You can see the play in there. Pass for 20 yards, then the defensive penalty, face mask, 15 yards added on to the end of the play. So it's a very simple thing. If you had a run, for instance, maybe that was only a 3-yard run, but there was a face mask penalty, or let's say, for the sake of things, let's say the penalty was on the defense, and it was an encroachment. And you're going to take that instead of the play. Then basically you can just come here to the override, select override. It says now penalty is added in place of the play. Once again, it asks with the end yard line. That's where I want it. I can select next. And there you have it. So what I would recommend is going into this game, into these games and creating scrimmages and watching college or pro games to really get a feel for the app. There's a lot of ins and outs of the app, and you're really not going to be able to learn everything immediately. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. So I would recommend just checking out everything, putting in different types of plays. You can see we have laterals, safeties, anything that can possibly happen in the play, we have covered for you in the app. So and then once again, all your plays will be listed in your plays, all your stats will be listed here on your stats tab, and this plus sign will get it so you can go back and enter in plays. So what we will do here on our video tutorials is this is kind of a main oversight of everything, and what we will do now is break down individual shorter videos for you guys if you need help still with running plays or passing plays or still having difficulty with penalty or special teams. We'll break those down into individual videos. But for right now, this is just to give you guys the basic overview of all of what this is capable of putting in. So that'll do it for this tutorial. Be sure to check out our other tutorials for both the app and how hsgamecenter.com, how your dashboard works. And with that, best of luck this season, and see you guys in some of these other tutorials.